The people most affected by coronavirus in the United States are black people. Okay, hold on a second. Who's most affected by the Green New Deal? Who's most affected by the Kyoto Protocol, which would skyrocket energy costs, which for us is mildly inconvenient because you drive a crossover, but for someone in Zambia, or honestly, you don't have to go that far, for someone in Mexico, if you can wander out of your Cancun booze cruise resort, they work all week just to get enough fuel so they can heat a can of beans on an old ironing board in a drum. Who do you think is most affected by your green policy? It's inconvenient for us. It kills people in the third world who make $2 a month. It's a CNN town hall, and this is actually, it's going to have former acting CDC director Richard Besser, former HHS secretary Kathleen Sebelius, and activist Greta Thunberg.
What?
They joined Anderson Cooper and Dr. Sanjay Gupta for a live CNN town hall.
About the coronavirus.
About the coronavirus.
One of these things does not look like the other.
Yeah. What happened to the experts?
Experts.
We have the head of the CDC. We have a neurosurgeon, and we have an autistic girl who yells, "How dare you?"
I think she's perfect for the panel.
Yes.
I mean, there's nothing
Really
that's
rounds it
more
out.
important right now, according to the media, than shaming everyone for everything that they do.
Right.
And she's really good at it.
Shamer.
She actually
I love
raises
it.
the intelligence.
I'm not saying I agree. I'm just saying you got to respect her shame level.
I respect her shame game.
Yeah.
So I do think a couple of facts to kind of hit, and then we'll discuss this a little bit. Of course, the left, they've tried to set this up already. They're attacking anyone who questions the COVID stats. Not even the COVID statistics, but the initial coronavirus statistics that have been proven verifiably false.
models,
like the 4 to 7% death rates, the 2 million dead. By the way, super shout out to our wonderful researcher, Reg the Bandit / Reg the Beast for calling Neil Ferguson. That guy to step down in shame. Yes. We got him. So they've been trying to frame, of course, everyone who says, you know what, I think we need to reopen the economy, I think we need to balance lives and livelihoods as science deniers, right? And so they're trying to now equate the denial of COVID being, a virus with a 10% death rate, or like Ebola with a 50% death rate. It's all the same people. These people deny science just like climate change. Okay, we'll come back to this in a second. AOC, she even did a video where she was talking about COVID being a test run for how to approach climate change, and she's been saying that the Green New Deal is scientifically necessary. Again, let's go to the experts.
Started with politicians who ignored warnings by scientists. It continued through a program of us knowing that we needed to act quickly and needed to take dramatic action fast in order to contain the damage. But there's so much that's politically vested in making sure that we don't do that, right? For example, this idea, it's like when scientists and epidemiologists started saying, listen, we have to shut down our cities and our states immediately right now, just as an immediate precaution, because we did not take action earlier. The communities that suffer first are the ones that are working class, Black, brown, essential workers,
Not white people.
All of that parallels with the climate movement. It is scientifically informed. This is scientifically informed legislation. I'm not here to tell you what is politically easy. I'm here to tell you what is scientifically necessary.
Is that a fact, doctor?
I like her use of the very lawyerly word informed, scientifically informed, not scientifically based.
Right.
Not scientifically sourced. Scientifically informed.
Scientists were near this when it was created, so
They were around.
She would be served well to attend finishing school from LeBron James.
yes.
Anyway, I'm going
helpful.
my duty to inform as I conversate. You are just lovely. Here's the thing, too. I just find it so funny that all of a sudden they call their own experts.
Yeah.
Well, why would you listen to Dr. Bricks? We need to listen to experts. Like AOC.
AOC.
So another fact, the World Economic Forum, let's just think I make this up, them trying to inextricably tie this, they're now calling for a flattening of the climate curve.
That's a new curve.
Huh? What? So many curves! It's like Raquel Welch, it's so curvy. Where have we heard this before? Flattening
Craig,
the curve.
It's the curve after the curve.
Well, I'm surprised they're using that now because it's no longer about flattening the COVID curve.
Yeah.
It's about the cure. The curve is irrelevant. We've already flattened the curve. Who gives a rat's ass? According to AOC, we shouldn't come back until every man, woman, and child has a vaccine and microchip from Bill Gates. Another fact, the UN chief used his Earth Day speech to confront Trump on climate change. He was linking it, of course, to coronavirus and saying that it was the bigger threat. And then finally, UC Berkeley, they've hosted a panel. I think I have this here. What's the panel? The panel is environmental and energy experts.
Those people.
Like AOC, to discuss the current COVID-19 pandemic offer lessons on how shared global solutions can help beat back the continued threat of climate change. So a couple of things here, by the way. Hit the notification bell if you're subscribed. Hit all notifications because subscriptions don't mean a whole lot. And just check in every single day here because we do new videos every day. And, of course, Crowder Bits. This is remarkable to me. Yeah. And I want to hear what you guys have to say about this because we've heard from the experts. Who's denying science at this point? Yeah. Who is denying science when let's just use the most extreme examples, okay? The most extreme examples humanly possible. The people who said, this is about comparable to the flu, and they were just scoring, like, I can't believe they were taken behind the woodshed. How could you downplay this versus the initial expert who had to resign in shame saying 2 million dead? So let's say it's double the number of right now.
Yeah.
Right? Let's say we're at 150,000 deaths. Flu season, we've had flu seasons with 80,000 deaths versus 2 million. Yeah. It is so much closer to the crazy non-experts who said it's more comparable to the flu that it wouldn't even appear on the same line chart. Now we have a new model. And so I wonder when they say we're going to get rid of misinformation on social media, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Well, hold on a second. Does that include the World Health Organization saying that it couldn't be transmitted from human to human contact? Oh, well, no, we won't remove that because that's what we believed at the time of the information we had. Taiwan saying, have a minute? So, no. But even then...
They sent so many meeting requests. Everyone denied.
Yeah, and why did you believe it? Because of the tweets.
Right.
Because of the
People believed it because of the tweets. Yeah. What about the tweets out there from the Chinese ambassador who said that it was started by American troops? Well, that was based on the information that we had at that time. Come again, stupid?
Yeah, hold on.
You're going to have a problem with Pizzagate, but not the Chinese ambassador saying, it was Marine. You saw Avatar, the ass.
The bad guy.
And it is remarkable to me how inconsistent it is here. Here's what we said early on. I think, I understand a precautionary measure when we didn't have any data.
Exactly.
Right? We didn't have any information. Okay, you shut down for a little bit, or you take some precautionary measures, but you quarantine the sick and the vulnerable, because that's typically what you do. You quarantine the sick, not the healthy. Right. Yeah. That's understandable, especially when we were hearing from China, by the way, in the World Health Organization, that it could be a 7%. Well, of course we want to do that. But now, in the face of overwhelming data, where even leftist governors tell us, it's about a 0.5% death rate at the top end. In the face of data, you are still pushing to ruin people's lives. Yeah. Why? Well, you know what? Why? Allow us to make our case as we present the experts. Greta, your witness.
Well, that they're using the same term that evidently worked to make people shut down the entire economy makes you realize, that's the goal. Yeah. So it worked the first time. Let's use the same terms that at least are going to have the same results.
Right.
And that's what they're going for.
Yeah, and in the article, it even went back, just going back on that point, said that if the basic thing was saying that people were a climate denier. There's the same people that are saying that COVID thing wasn't the models weren't wrong. It's just that we had stuff happen, like social distancing happened. You closed it down, and we're like, wait a minute, no, you factored that in to begin with, and you said that even with that, this was going to be the case. Yeah.
Right.
So tell me, in the climate thing, what you're going to do. Then you're going to change the model, and then you're going to move the goalpost again, and then you're going to exclude China from the equation, and then we're still all going to.
They've been wrong at nearly every single turn.
Exactly,
I don't want to be Donald Trump, but they've been wrong at every single turn. Everyone.
There has not
there
been
are
one
no exceptions, and you're nasty. You're so nasty. They were wrong about Georgia.
Yeah.
They're wrong about Georgia, and so they have to move the goalposts now to no longer. The goalposts are no longer. Well, hold on a second. Everyone's going to die if you open up your economy. Because in Texas, guess what? Nowhere near as severe as Michigan. No. Nowhere near the kind of infections. We have a lot of big cities here in Texas. It's not just some small state with podunk towns. We were reasonable in our approach, and I'm not saying that not having lockdowns is more effective than having lockdowns. I'm saying there is no rhyme or reason to at this point when you look at the statistics outside of the fact that it's dangerous if you're over 80 or have pre-existing comorbidities. That's what we know. The rest we don't. So they said everyone was going to die needlessly in Georgia. Well, Georgia is now beyond the curve.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and they're doing just fine. Like, they're seeing kind of this cliff fall off that we talked about that other nations around the world.
Not just fine, because of course every life matters.
Of course,
But compared to what they said.
Relative to the risk that we are used to taking every single day of our lives that maybe we just didn't know that we were taking. Every year we have a flu risk. Every year we have a death by automobile accident risk, or by murder, or by something happening in the hospital when you go in for a procedure that's not supposed to kill you that accidentally does.
Yeah, and like all Michael Myers showing up in the sequel.
Well, that's true.
Gerald raised a really good point. I mean, I know.
Whoa.
But the comparison to reality of how many lives are actually lost and the changes, it's not just about how many more lives have been lost due to COVID, but compared to what our normal death rates would have been, compared to the risk, like you're saying.
Yes, yeah.
And when you actually do that and you're not just screaming about politics and people saying if you open the economy, you hate every human being.
Right.
It all falls apart.
Just like we've learned this when we're talking about the economy. We've had some lessons that we've learned from this right here. The federal government can't be a charity. This is what they're saying. Well, you know what? The federal government can help right now. A couple of things. That shows you how politicized it is, because right now Democrats are saying, well, the Republicans are holding up this new stimulus bill. Hold on a second. Who held up the stimulus bill before we flattened the curve? Remember? You guys wanted to shove everything in there with earmarks.
Kennedy
and God
Center
knows.
funding.
It was the Republicans who said we need to do this so that we can flatten the curve. Now that we've flattened the curve, and you're talking about another stimulus, which a lot of it can be a big giant kickback to the postal union when you actually look at what they want to do. At this point, we're past the curve. Now you're trying to play politics with it and say Republicans are trying to stop the spending bill. You guys were doing it when we actually needed it. But let's assume for a second when people say, well, there's no choice between making a living right in the economy or staying healthy if the government just does its job. How much money have we spent now?
Trillions.
Many trillions of dollars. More than ever as far as acute spending in the history of the United States. That floated us for a month.
Yeah.
If that.
So how much if you spend more, right? I don't know. Let's call it $20 trillion. Our entire debt clock. 3.5 months. There's not enough money. And by the way, it runs out faster if nobody is working.
Right.
So we've learned that the federal government cannot be a charity. It's not Samaritan's Purse. But you know what else? That businesses it's a self-sustaining charity.
Yeah.
You go to your local coffee shop, you go to your restaurant, that allows them to provide a living, not only for the business owners, but their employees when you are voluntarily offering money for goods or services. And something else that I think is undeniable here while we're talking about the climate change green movement, they want to equate the two, and you know what? So do I. Just like they wanted you to remember coronavirus and Donald Trump's handling of it going into November. Yep, I want you to remember all of it. 2 million dead, 7% death rate. Please do not forget, we've been consistent. I want you to remember when they accuse us of being science deniers because of our position on coronavirus. Here's something interesting to me. This is proven beyond any shadow of a doubt that absolutely, positively, this is being Trump. No exceptions.
Do it. No exceptions.
No exceptions.
No.
How many? I said none.
Did you hear me?
Did you hear me stutter? Do I look like a Costa? That the green movement hates people. Think about this first. I was at a co-op health food store in Michigan. By the way, huge culture of fear in Michigan compared to Texas.
Yeah.
I was walking in to get some yogurt. I have a mask because you have to, otherwise it's illegal. This lady who's my age has a mask, and I'm walking past her to get yogurt, and she stops, panics, and leaps into the next aisle like, 6 feet! And she just jumps. I'm sitting there going, oh my God. And then when I go to check out, they have a big sign like, it is with extreme sadness that we have to inform you, due to the coronavirus, we are not accepting reusable bags at this time. And then when you go to the coffee shop, it is with extreme sadness that we tell you that we are not accepting reusable cups at this time. And then I go to the airport and I go, you know what? Oh, hey, listen, hold on a second. A flushless urinal? How'd you figure that out? By the way, there's no secret to it. Your piss just stays there.
Yep.
It just pools there. Even the sports bars put in ice or peanut shells or some shit. So I go to a flushless urinal. I'm like, well, that's kind of gross. And then I'm like, well, I'm going to go wash my hands and sing happy birthday twice and happy birthday to... And the sink shuts off because it's a green sink. And I can't use paper towels because it's a blow dryer. When it comes down to saving human lives, well, so we have to get rid of the absurdity of the plastic, the reusable bags, which, by the way, ridiculous. Are worse for the environment, and the reusable cups. We're not going to do that anymore. What about following the CDC hand washing guidelines? I can't do it. It's not humanly possible. What about the flushless urinals? Hey, no more flushing, no more running water. That's progress. How about I piss my name into a tree? Is that progress?
That's skill.
This is what the left would see when they see the evolution of man going up, and then down to a squatty potty, and then eventually it's made of hemp, and then they're in a hole in the ground.
And we're in San Francisco.
So when we're talking about this, listen, my position, and I think everyone here on climate change is not, there's no such thing as climate change, I don't know the science. No, listen, I think the Earth has warmed. I think that humans may be contributing a significant amount to it. As to whether we'll have catastrophic results, I'm not entirely sure. As to the proposed global legislation that would kill people undeniably, expecting, of course, China to play ball, which they've vocally expressed they will not. No, I don't believe that politically it will make any difference. And as it relates to coronavirus, I believe we were lied to, or at the very least provided misinformation, certainly from China, certainly from experts who said we're going to have 2 million people dead. I believe that we shut down the economy based on statistics that couldn't exactly be observed. You know what is observable? You know what's 100% observable? Joblessness. People not making any money. Right? Suicides going up, alcoholism going up. There's no doubt about that. So when you folks want to say, hey, we deny the experts, by the way, Birx, not an expert. Only Fauci, only Geppetto, and Fantasy Island. I will wear it proudly. What's so funny to me is they talk about, this global economy, right? That we are all one. We are the world. Hold hands and have all the flags and effectively an Amish quilt. But really, when you think about it, okay, you look at the globe and you look at the green movement, and then they have the gall to tell us, well, really the people most affected by environmental pollutants are minorities in the United States. So the people most affected by coronavirus in the United States are black people. Okay, hold on a second. Who's most affected by the Green New Deal? Who's most affected by the Kyoto Protocol, which would skyrocket energy costs, which for us is mildly inconvenient because you drive a crossover, but for someone in Zambia, or honestly, you don't have to go that far, for someone in Mexico, if you can wander out of your Cancun booze cruise resort, they work all week just to get enough fuel so they can heat a can of beans on an old ironing board in a drum. Who do you think is most affected by your green policy? It's inconvenient for us. It kills people in the third world who make $2 a month. So they don't really care about the most vulnerable among us. Certainly, I don't want to say no one cares. I'm saying the policies are not thoughtful of the most vulnerable among us because it is all a sacrifice at the altar of the greater good. What's the greater good? Well, the climate, the earth. It's more important than people. What's the greater good with coronavirus? Well, political expediency. It's more important than people being autonomous and being able to make their own livings. So I'm not going to make any sacrifices at that altar. And as it relates to being anti-science, I'm a climate denier as well as a coronavirus denier, I think you can look at the track record of where we lined up on climate change, where we've lined up on coronavirus, and it's remarkable that we've gotten very little wrong. Honestly, I was speaking from my gut thinking this is going to come back to bite me in the ass. Instead, I look like Nostradamus. So I will wear that badge loudly and proudly. Yep, call me a science denier. You know what's in here? It's just water. That's why they call it acting. It actually smells garlicky. There's something wrong with the water. I think it's going through the ice maker, and we don't have the baking soda in the fridge. If you like this video, subscribe, hit notifications, or just check back every single day because we upload a new video every single day. And this was actually taken from the full show, a full-hour show that we upload every single Thursday. Click that right now. Go watch the entire show. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But if you stop by, just don't bother me. I'm going to enjoy my garlic water.